Something's been off with Adrien these past few days. He's been acting weird whenever a supervillain shows up, and he just disappears. That cat noir. Something about him. Hello and welcome back, my fairies. I am Matsuyorific, and this is part 2 of my What If Adrien Had a Twin Sister. And this is the little monkey butt who can't stop biting. In the last part, we discussed the idea of Adrien's twin sister, Adriana Agreste, and how things might have gone if Adrien wasn't such a lonely boy. Like her brother, she's also a teen model, which has caused them to be even more popular than in the original, since the media loves its blonde twins and all. She also enjoys singing, which her father takes advantage of in making her a teen idol on top of that. I'm also going to try to make this a bit longer, since the last part only ended up being 10 minutes long. Think of part 1 as a pilot. You guys definitely seem to enjoy it, so hey, pilot successful! If you didn't catch the last part, there will be a link to the playlist in the description. One thing I did forget to touch on in the last part is Adriana's celebrity personality. What I mean by that is how she's expected to act in public. For Adrien, his celebrity persona is that of the perfect Prince Golden Child. For Adriana, since her brother already has the Golden Child persona claimed, I feel like she would be expected to be a little bit different. Obviously, this would have to be something that's marketable because this is how she attracts fans. I know it sounds bad to say it like that, but that's kind of how the industry works. And when you're a female child star, the pressure's pretty high. If we look at real-world examples, there tend to be some common attributes that we can pull from. Girls are supposed to be cute, fashionable, and don't forget to smile! You're never fully dressed without one. Because of this, Adriana's celebrity personality would be the cheerful, bubbly sort. This would allow for a nice contrast to her more calm and put-together brother, and give them a sort of yin-yang dynamic. You might think this means she's going to be a lot happier than Adrien, but well, it's not as great as you might think. She's not allowed to be sad or serious or angry. Being all smiles all the time is a lot harder than you'd think. I also think Bob Roth would be her manager, so a lot of this would be his idea to help sell albums. Think Rosette from Persona 4, but Gabriel would still make sure she dresses a bit more age-appropriate. She's still 13, after all. Bob would argue she's almost 14, but he'd argue 15 once their birthday comes along anyway, because he's Bob. He likes money, and as uncomfortable as it is to think about, it does still sell. Plus, she's tall, so she does get away with looking older than she is, which doesn't really help. With that out of the way, let's get back to exploring how much the show itself would change with the inclusion of Adrien's twin sister. When we last left off, we saw Marinette and Adrien getting the miraculous, which Adrien didn't really feel comfortable keeping from his sister. The two know everything, and I mean everything about each other, so keeping such a big secret from Adriana is not really something he's looking forward to. Of course, Adriana herself would get very suspicious when Adrien's constant disappearances, and that cat noir. There's just something about him that she can't quite put her finger on. Could it be? No way, he'd definitely tell her if that was the case. Right? She's gonna have to look into this. Over the next few weeks, Adriana would pay very close attention to her brother whenever a supervillain would show up. We know that some time passes between Origins and Stormy Weather, since Stormy Weather herself mentions that it's summer vacation, and Origins starts with the first day of school. Plus, Alia was able to tease Marinette for the way she acts around Adrien at the start of the episode, meaning that they've been in class together long enough for the habit to be noticeable. Because of this, we can spend a little time speculating what happens in between. During the time skip, Adriana would start to notice a pattern. Supervillain shows up, Adrien disappears, Ladybug and Cat Noir show up to defeat the bad guy, and eventually she's able to find Adrien once the heroes leave. Suspicious for sure, but not quite proof enough. Plus, Adrien always has an excuse for why he has to run off. They're usually pretty lame excuses, but he's never lied to her before, so would it really be right for her to question him? Plus, if she turned out to be wrong, she'd look pretty silly. Still, after seeing Ladybug and Cat Noir getting tossed around, because remember, they still had a lot to learn back in Season 1, the thought of Adrien getting hurt worried her. If anything, she was hoping to find proof that he wasn't Cat Noir. Of course, Adriana wasn't the only one starting to suspect something. Adrien would also notice all the questions, the skeptical looks, and how clingy she'd get whenever a supervillain would show up. I don't know, Plague. Maybe I should just tell Anna the truth.
You can't do that! If anyone finds out about your miraculous, you won't be able to be Cat Noir anymore!
I trust her, Plague. She's not going to tell anyone. Anna's not like that. Besides, I think she's starting to get suspicious.
Well, then you'd better figure out a way to convince her you're not Cat Noir.
I don't feel right lying to her. And it would show. Every time Adrien would have to make up an excuse to tell his sister, Adrien could tell there was something off about him. She'd also pay attention to both the news and the Ladybug where she could, to start seeing similarities in Cat Noir's behavior. She's the only person who knows about Adrien's silly side, and Cat Noir had that in spades. The cat puns, the confidence, that smile he never shows on camera. All the signs were there, and it was time she confirmed it for herself. There was one last thing she needed to do before confronting Adrien himself, and that was to talk to Cat Noir in person. During the next supervillain attack, Adriana was going to make sure to follow after them closely, and hopefully be able to talk to Cat Noir before he and Ladybug ran off. With summer vacation coming up, she's going to have plenty of opportunities. We finally reached the start of the series, with episode 1 not really changing too much. Adriana would be at the park with Adrien for the photo shoot, but they'd still need another girl as an extra, since the idea was for a romantic shot, which Adriana can't exactly fulfill as Adrien's sister. They're not those kind of twins. When Stormy Weather shows up, Adrien once again gives his sister the slip, but Adrian isn't going to make things so easy this time around. Instead of following Adrien, she follows Stormy. Of course, when cars start flying, who would come in to save her other than Ladybug? Dang it! Cat Noir was supposed to save her, not Ladybug. Ladybug, of course, tells her that she needs to find someplace safe to hide, and with 4,000-pound chunks of metal flying around, Adriana would admit defeat. This time. A while later, Adrien comes to find her with yet another excuse, and they continue the photo shoot with Manon joining in. Adriana is frustrated that she didn't get the chance to see Cat Noir up close, but she's not about to give up that easily. She's going to have to take a bit of a break, though, because not only are they going back to school, but it's soon going to be their birthday. She knows Nino's trying to plan a party for them, not that she expects their father to allow it, and knowing how creative Marinette is means she's probably going to be making them something. Sure will be nice to get something other than those lame pens their father always gets them every year. She decides to call up Marinette via video chat to see if she can get a hint. When Marinette answers, she immediately hides the scarf she's been working on.
Why, Marinette, is that for moi? What? No, this isn't for you, it's for... Hey, wait, did you call just because you want to spy on your present?
What? Of course not. But if you're making something for Rian... Marinette's face turned red, which was all the confirmation Adriana needed. I knew it! So, what are you making him? Come on, tell me, Marinette! At least give me a hint so I don't get him the same thing. Marinette finally caves in and tells her about the scarf. She's making one for Adriana too, but she doesn't tell her that yet. Adriana tries to convince Marinette to tell Adrien how she feels too, but Marinette isn't sure if she'll even be able to say happy birthday, let alone tell Adrien she loves him. Now, if you're wondering why she would bother when she thinks Adrien is Cat Noir, who's in love with Ladybug, it's because at this point in the show, most of the flirting is just playful banter. We don't really see any hints of anyone actually shipping them until after Dark Cupid, and Ladybug herself doesn't even know how he feels until Glaciator in Season 2, so she wouldn't already know that her brother's in love with someone else. We know he loves Ladybug, and we know that Ladybug is Marinette's, but they don't know that. From here, we start to see the episode play out as normal. Gabriel refuses to let Nino throw the twins' party, Nino gets akumatized into Bubbler, and he then proceeds to kidnap the adults and force their classmates to attend the party. The biggest difference here is that Adrien doesn't need as much convincing to let the party go on as in the original. See, with Adriana being so suspicious of him, Adrien and Plague figured that by hanging out at the party for a bit, it would provide her with some reasonable doubt. After all, if he was Cat Noir, he would have immediately gone to transform once they saw Nina was akumatized. Of course, Adriana's not going to make it easy on him either. She spends the majority of the party trying to guilt him into action, going on about how his best friend's been akumatized, how it's weird that all the adults are missing, and hopefully Ladybug and Cat Noir will arrive to save their friend. Honestly, Chloe forcing that slow dance is the best thing he could have asked for, because it meant he had an excuse to avoid his sister for a bit. But then he remembered that it's Chloe and instantly regretted it. By the time Ladybug comes along and replaces the music, Adriana decides enough is enough. If her brother really is Cat Noir, she needs to find a way to make him stop fooling around and gosh darn it, do something already. How does she do that? Well, by throwing herself into the lion's den. She walks over to Bubbler and demands to know where her father, Natalie, and all the other adults have gone. This, of course, does not go over well with Bubbler. This party is for her and Adrien. Why'd she gotta be such a downer like that? And unfortunately, Adrien notices a little too late, leading to Adriana getting put in a bubble. This prompts Adrien to finally go transform, and Cat Noir arrives only a few seconds after Ladybug. Now, while this is earlier than in the original, I don't think it would really make a difference during their fight, so we're just going to skip over the fight itself. After Nino gets deakumatized, Adrien is feeling even more anxious about the secret than ever. In an attempt to try and convince Adriana that he wasn't Cat Noir, she ended up getting put in even more danger than if he'd just gone to transform right away. Plag is still against telling her, but he does at least admit that it was partially his fault for convincing Adrien that leaving an Akuma villain to do as they please was a good idea. Still, that just meant it was even more imperative that they find a way to convince Adriana she was wrong, or else it could lead to her getting into even more trouble. Now, as far as Marinette's presents to the twins go, Natalie still steals them to make the twins think they're from Gabriel, but this time Adriana's onto her. She knows Marinette was making something for Adrien, and this is the exact same shade of blue that she saw Marinette working on the other day. She's about to say something, but when she sees how happy Adrien looks, thinking that they got a real present from their father for once, she can't bring herself to do so. They already had a rough time with Nino getting akumatized, and she can't take the one thing that made him happy today away from him. At least, not right now. It can wait until tomorrow at school. Besides, if it did turn out to not be for Marinette, she'd just spoil the good mood for nothing. They go back to school the next day, and we get the scene where Alia compliments the scarves, and Adrien says they're from his father. After the line about those same lame pens they get every year, Adriana walks over to Marinette and asks her about them. Marinette confirms that she's the one who made them, and Adriana suggests they tell Adrien the truth, but Marinette doesn't want that. Just like in the original, she insists that it's more important that Adrien is happy with the gift, and if thinking that it's from their father is what makes him happy, she doesn't want to take that away from him. This then submits Adriana's determination to get Adrianette together, because Marinette just proved how much she cared about her brother. She just proved that she would be the type of girlfriend who would put Adrien first, which to Adriana was the most important thing. She's a keeper, that Marinette. Don't tell her about the pillow incident. Moving on to the next episode, and yeah, these next few episodes don't really change much. Adrien doesn't really appear much in Pharaoh or Lady Wi-Fi, so Adriana wouldn't have a way to affect these episodes. Timebreaker is the next episode that primarily features Adriana, and this one would actually have the biggest change we've seen yet. When Chloe takes Alex's watch away from Adrien, he might be too nice to take it back by force, but Adriana? She's got a bit more of a backbone, so I think she would actually manage to get the watch away from Chloe. Plus, since Chloe respects Adriana more than Marinette, I think she'd actually listen when the twins both try to get her to give it back. So, yeah, Timebreaker just doesn't happen. Alex wins the race, Kim is banned for making any more dares for a while, and Marinette? Well, Marinette gets busted for keeping Nadia waiting for her cake. No time travel shenanigans to get her out of this one. At least she could transform into Ladybug to get home quickly. Mr. Pigeon, Evillustrator, and Roger Cop would all go without any significant changes, though Adriana does notice when Adrien sneaks off after Chloe's bracelet goes missing. Unfortunately, Chloe's causing so much of a scene that her attention's kind of split between Adrien and trying to calm down her friend as the only other person she'd actually listen to. But Not even Adriana can get in the way of Chloe's entitlement, and Andre's abuse of power still ends up getting Roger akumatized. The rest of the episode plays out as normal. Then we get our next major change, Copycat. This episode actually changes even more than Timebreaker. First off, when Marinette leaves that embarrassing voicemail for Adrien, Alia gets the brilliant idea of asking Adriana to erase the voicemail for them. Marinette isn't too sure about this plan since Adrien would be at fencing practice, and remember, Adriana doesn't take fencing. But Alia messages her anyways, and Adriana jumps at the chance. She knows that Cat Noir is expected to be at that unveiling ceremony for the Ladybug and Cat Noir statue, and with Adrien supposedly stuck in fencing class, this could be her chance to catch him in the act. If she can confirm that he's not at practice while Cat Noir is appearing in the Ladyblog, that could help to prove her theory. With Adriana on the scene, Marinette is now free to transform and go to the unveiling ceremony. The artist gets to have her autograph his reference picture, and she's able to correct Cat Noir when his eyes start getting even greener, if you know what I mean. This means the artist doesn't get akumatized. That's 2 people who've been saved just by Adriana existing. This also means that Adrien never loses his phone, since Marinette never went to the school to steal it. Unfortunately for Adrien, he's now got a whole new problem. After erasing the message on Adrien's phone, Adriana stuck around a bit longer until fencing practice was over. After all the other kids had already gone to the locker room to change, she notices one last person racing over a few minutes later. And since they're not wearing their mask, she can clearly see their face. His face. She's got him. But wait, wouldn't he be wearing a mask? Well, no. He took it off when he snuck off to transform, and he doesn't have it on when he returns. Of course, him skipping out on fencing still isn't technically proof. She still needs to catch him in the act, and the next Akuma is on Valentine's Day. Yes, I know we said stormy weather was during summer vacation, and Valentine's Day is in the spring. Don't blame me, blame the show for having a weird timeline. We get Christmas at the end of season 2, then spring break for Shanghai right after, and yet it still hasn't been a full year since Stoneheart by the end of season 4. The show doesn't care about the timeline, so why should we? On to Dark Cupid, and once again, we don't really get to see too many significant changes. But it's not what happens with Kim and the Akuma that's really important. When Chloe sends out that mass text with the embarrassing photo of Kim, Adriana, well upset with Chloe, realizes that this could be her chance to catch Adrien in the act. If Kim gets akumatized, that means that Adrien, who should be in his room right now, will be leaving to go save him. She immediately turns on the TV and waits for the news report. And sure enough, there's a new supervillain in Paris. She waits a bit longer until she could see Cat Noir on the news before going over to Adrien's room. She knocks, and all he hears in response is the sound of the piano. She knocks again. Still just the piano. The sly grin on her face, she opens the door and sees that, sure enough, Adrien is not in his room. Instead, he's got an audio recording playing next to the piano. Ooh, she's got him now. She hangs out by the door out of sight, watching the news on her phone to pass the time, and not long after Dark Cupid is defeated does she hear someone come through the window. She takes a peek, and sure enough, it's Cat Noir. Aha! I knew it! Cat Noir looks at her in shock. What's she doing here? This is his room! This isn't what it looks like. Oh, really? Because it looks like Cat Noir sneaking into my brother's room, when he really has no business being here. And would you look at that? Said brother is nowhere to be found. To think you would keep such a secret from me. Lying to your only sister. Do I really mean so little to you now? What? No! Come on, Anna, She immediately turns off the waterworks and gives him a cheeky grin. Now he's done it. Only Adrien calls her that. What was that? It sounded like you called me Anna. I'm busted, aren't I? Cat Noir then detransforms, and he and Plag explain things to Adriana. By all accounts, Adrien should give up his miraculous, but Adriana promises not to say anything, and even offers to help cover for them the next time an Akuma appears, so Plag lets it slide. Wait, that's it? Well, yeah. Plag's always been shown to be lazy and nonchalant when it comes to the rules. I mean, when Adrien figured out Ladybug's identity in Cap Blanc, yeah, Plag protested, but he didn't tell Master Fu or force Adrien to give up his miraculous. I feel like the same would apply here. So, there you go. Adrien managed to keep the secret for about 12 episodes, but in the end, there was just no fooling his sister. Now, if this were to happen in the actual show, it probably wouldn't have happened until the season finale, considering that's usually when they do major status quo changes. But considering that this is for a YouTube video and not a TV show, I think we could bend the rules a bit. Besides, episode 10 out of 24, that's close enough to the halfway point. That's usually a pretty acceptable place for something like this. The rest of season 1 doesn't really change much, aside from Adriana making it easier for Adrien to sneak off to transform. Chloe would still take Mulan's place in the class's movie, since Adriana can't really play the romantic lead opposite Adrien. She'd be too busy with her idol and modeling work to run for class president. They wouldn't have any effect on Mulan's dad getting akumatized, and she wouldn't want to intrude on Adrien spending time with Marinette when she needs him to translate for her and her uncle. She probably would at least try to take part in the gaming tournament, but ultimately it would still be Adrien and Marinette who get chosen to compete. Plus, you really want to see this get removed? Yeah, we're leaving that alone. Adriana would probably hear about Nino's crush on Marinette and Adrien's plan to get them together, and while she'd at least try to convince them it's not a good idea, she decides not to intervene since it's hard to do so without revealing Marinette's feelings for Adrien. She knows Marinette's not going to feel the same way about Nino, but with any luck, maybe it'll lead her to telling Adrien? We know it doesn't, but she can still hope. Instead, Nino and Alia get together after being locked in the zoo by Ladybug, just like the original. Antibug also doesn't really leave much room for Adriana to get involved, since the classroom scene with Vanisher happens so fast, and everything else takes place at the hotel. As far as Puppeteer goes, Adriana would be on the train with Adrien trying to see that movie, but other than being the lookout when he transforms, she wouldn't really be able to affect this episode either. Reflecta, Pixelator, Guitar Villain, and Princess Fragrance all would play out the same as normal too. The issue here is that Adrien doesn't really have much screen time in the earlier episodes, since they're both pretty much stuck at home while they're not at school, modeling, or taking lessons. There's not a whole lot of ways that either of them can participate. And if Adrien can't be there, chances are neither can Adriana. But what about Volpina? Adrien's got a pretty big role in that episode. Well, I think that's going to be something for another video. We've covered nearly all of Season 1, and if we don't pace ourselves out a bit, this is going to turn out to be a pretty short series. For now, I'm going to leave you guys with a poll. So far we've gone over how the show itself would change, which is kind of the point, but is that all you guys want to see? I have some ideas for original storylines that could be told focusing on Adriana herself, but they might take away from the point of these videos, which is to explore the show with a new character. If you vote no, then these videos will solely focus on the story of the show, and we might not see too many significant changes. If you vote yes, the story of the show will still happen, but we'll get to spend more time with Adriana, fleshing her out and giving her her own story arc that would be told alongside that of the show. And don't worry, even if the vote leans more towards keeping to the show's canon, I still plan to explore these other storylines in my comics over on Tumblr, so you won't miss out. Unfortunately, that would mean this series would be shorter, with only 1 or 2 parts dedicated to each season, which would limit the stories we can tell since Miraculous is still ongoing. Let me know by voting in the poll in the community tab, which will be linked down below. Other than that, what do you guys think so far? Adriana's inclusion actually saved 2 people from being akumatized, and even stopped Marinette from committing Grand Theft cell phone. I do wish there was more we could do with her after the first half, but like I said, there isn't really much we can do with the twins having such limited freedom. If there's anything you think that could have been changed, let me know down below. Thank you guys for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, then be sure to leave a comment down below and subscribe for more videos from me. We do all sorts of fun stuff on this channel, including playing video games, we do art, and also sometimes talk about cartoons and anime. So if you enjoy this stuff, then be sure to ring that bell icon and never miss a video. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, I hope you all have a very magical day.